A second and more difficult, because more abstract argument for the existence of God is the first cause argument. Before going into the difficult form of it, let's just look at the simple, basic, intuitive, natural, commonsensical form of it. I think we all have to become rather clever in order to doubt it or to dispute it, because it's based on an instinct of mind that we all share. The instinct that says everything needs an explanation. Nothing just is, without a reason why it is. Everything that exists has some adequate or sufficient reason why it exists. Philosophers call this the principle of sufficient reason. We use it every day, in common sense and in science, as well as in philosophy. If you saw a rabbit suddenly appear on this empty table, you would not blandly say, "Hi there, rabbit, you came from nowhere, didn't you?" No, you'd look for a cause. You would assume there has to be some cause. Did the rabbit fall from the ceiling? Was I a magician who had it up my sleeve? If there seems to be no physical cause, you would look then for a psychological cause. Perhaps there's no rabbit there. Perhaps you're being hypnotized or dreaming. As a last resort, you'd look for a supernatural cause, a miracle. God created the rabbit. But there must be some cause. We never deny the principle of sufficient reason itself. No one believes the pop theory, that things just pop into existence for no reason at all. Perhaps we will never find the cause, but there must be a cause for everything that comes into existence. Now, the entire universe is a vast interlocking chain of things that come into existence. Each of these things must therefore have a cause. My parents caused me, my grandparents caused them, etc. But it is not that simple. I would not be here without billions of causes, from the Big Bang through the cooling of the galaxies and the evolution of the protein molecule to the marriages of my ancestors. The universe is a vast and complex chain of causes. Now, does the universe as a whole have a cause? Is there a first cause, an uncaused cause, an eternal cause, a transcendent cause of the whole immanent chain of causes? If not, then there is an infinite regress of causes with no first link in the great cosmic chain. If so, then there is an eternal, necessary, independent, self-explanatory being with nothing above it, nothing before it, nothing supporting it. It would explain itself as well as everything else. For if it needed something else as its explanation, its reason, its cause, then it would not be the first and uncaused cause. Such a being could be called God. If we can prove there is such a first cause, we will have proved that there is some sort of God. Now, why must there be a first cause? Because if there isn't, then the whole universe is unexplained, and we have violated our principle of sufficient reason for everything. If there is no first cause, each particular thing in the universe is explained by some other thing, but the universe as a whole is not explained. Everyone and everything in the universe says in turn, "Don't look to me for the final explanation. I'm just an instrument. Something else caused me." But if that's all there is, beings that say that, then we have an endless buck-passing universe. God is the one who says the buck stops here. One more analogy. Suppose I tell you there is a book that explains everything you want explained. You want that book very much. You ask me whether I have it. I say, no, I have to get it from my wife. Does she have it? Well, no, she has to get it from a neighbor. Does he have it? No, he has to get it from his teacher, who has to get it from, etc., ad infinitum. No one actually has the book. In that case, you will never get it. However long or short the chain of book borrowers may be, you will get the book only if someone actually has it and does not have to borrow it. Well, existence is like that book. Existence is handed down the chain of causes, from cause to effect. If there is no first cause, no being who is eternal and self-sufficient, no being who has existence by his own nature and does not have to borrow it from something else, then the gift of existence can never be passed down the chain to others, and no one will ever get it. But we did get it. We exist. We got the the gift of existence from our causes down the chain. And so did every actual being in the universe, from atoms to archangels. Therefore, there must be a first cause of existence, a God. St. Thomas Aquinas has a number of versions of this basic argument. I think the most interesting is the third way. He argues that if there were no eternal, necessary, and immortal being, if everything had a possibility of being or not being, and thus a possibility of ceasing to be, then eventually this possibility of ceasing to be would be realized for everything. If everything could die, then given infinite time, everything would eventually die. But in that case, nothing could start up again. We would have universal death. For a being that has ceased to exist cannot cause itself or anything else to begin to exist again. And if there is no God, then there must have been infinite time. The universe must have always been here, with no beginning and no first cause. But this universal death has not happened. Things do exist. Therefore, there must be a necessary being that cannot not be, cannot possibly cease to be. Another description of God. How can anyone get out of the tight logic of this argument? Well, here are 4 ways in which philosophers try. First, many say that the proofs don't prove God at all, but only some vague first cause or other. The God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob is not the God of philosophers and scholars, writes Pascal, who was a passionate Christian but did not think you could prove God's existence logically. Well, it's true that the proofs do not by any means prove everything the Christian means by God. But they do prove a transcendent, eternal, uncaused, immortal, self-existing, independent, all-perfect being. That sounds rather like God. It's a pretty thick slice of him anyway. The second objection is that some philosophers, like David Hume, say that the concept of cause is ambiguous and not applicable beyond the physical universe to God. How dare we use the same term for what clouds do to rain, what parents do to children, what authors do to books, and what God does to the universe? The answer is that the concept of cause is analogical. That is, it differs somewhat, but not completely, from one example to another. Human fatherhood is a bit like divine fatherhood, and physical causality is a bit like divine causality, but also unlike. The way an author conceives a book in his mind is not exactly the same way as a woman conceives a baby in her body either, but we call both causes. In fact, we even call both conceptions. The objection is right to point out that we do not fully understand how God causes the universe, as we do understand how parents cause children or clouds cause rain. But the term remains meaningful. A cause is the sine qua non for an effect. If no cause, no effect. If no first cause, no second causes. If no creator, no creation. If no God, no universe. Third, it is sometimes argued, as Bertrand Russell does, that there is a self-contradiction in the first cause argument. For one of the premises is that everything needs a cause, but the conclusion is that there is something, God, which does not need a cause. The child who asks, "Who made God?" is really thinking of this objection. The answer is very simple. The argument does not use the premise that everything needs a cause. Everything that comes to be needs a cause. Everything that is born needs a cause. Everything that changes needs the cause. Everything dependent needs a cause. Finally, it is often asked why there can't be infinite regress with no first being. Infinite regress is perfectly acceptable in mathematics. Negative numbers go on to infinity just as positive numbers do. So why can't time be like the number series, with no highest number, either negatively, no first in the past, or positively, no last in the future? The answer is that real beings are not like numbers. They need causes. For the chain of real beings moves in one direction only, from past to future. And things in the future are caused by things in the past. But positive numbers are not caused by negative numbers. Actually, there is a parallel in the number series for a first cause, the number 1. If there were no first positive integer, no unit 1, there could be no subsequent addition of units. 2 is 2 ones, 3 is 3 ones, and so on. If there were no first, there could be no second or third. If the argument is getting too tricky, the thing to do is to return to what is sure and clear, the intuitive point I began with. Not everyone can understand all the abstract details of the first cause argument, but everyone can understand its basic point. C.S. Lewis puts it this way: I felt in my bones that this universe does not explain itself.